even without picking up an instrument or going for a class or anything, I started thinking I'm a musician just in my head, just by the way I listen to music. Whenever I was having conversations with my friends and everything, and I used to sort of talk about songs in a very different way. So that's when I started realizing maybe I'm hearing songs differently and I'm hearing music differently. And I knew I had this connection with music, first of all. Not that much with films. Films were still very much like a pastime. Like, oh yeah, I enjoy this film, oh I enjoy this film, I enjoy this film. Even in films, there was like a certain side of me where I was not going with the popular opinion with my friends. Like when all my friends said, "Whoa, wow, this film is great, this actor is great," I was like, okay, it doesn't seem that great for me. I didn't know what it was or why it was, what was the sensibility that I was looking for. The kind of films that I enjoyed was very different from the popular opinion within my friends. But I thought maybe it's just like, okay, maybe my taste is slightly different or something like that. Or maybe I'm not getting something that these guys are getting or something like that. So that was my initial relationship with music and all that. And only after joining college, I actually started getting into the city, and like I was amazed because around that time there were lots of bands from abroad, like the ICCR at that time, the Cultural Relationship platform. They used to bring lots of bands from different countries. So what I used to do is like in places like Music Academy or something, I used to kind of go with the band while they're sound checking, because that time it's very open. Like I used to kind of go and see these bands sound checking and what they do and sound checking. Sometimes I wouldn't even have a pass for the main show. I'd only see the sound check.
Sound check, okay.
But that is like the biggest learning for me, to see musicians sound check and like how they perform, like what do they do while they're sound checking. I would end up not seeing the shows because I couldn't afford to get a pass for the show. So that was my first experience of being on stage, like just watching other bands sound check and what they do. And I used to talk to the musicians, and like I used to understand where they are from.
Lovely.
There was a band from South Africa. There was a classical band from Tokyo. So many different bands with different soundscapes, and that is my starting point of music, like my relationship with music.
Yeah, this is fascinating, Shiva, but I want you to draw back to the art residency that you started talking about, which I'm pretty sure offered you several multicultural experiences, because the people from that would have been from all across the globe. So with respect to what you felt after going into that residency and how that transformed you in terms of your artistic pursuit that you wanted to do at that point of time, could you talk to us a little more about how that particular month or so in the art residency shaped up who Darbuka Siva is today?
So much of the timing of that art residency is a huge thing for me, like when it happened. So again, for me to go back to where I was, so I was this raw, like untamed musician who has no clue about music and all that. Then like by being a roadie and all that, I started understanding how music works. I started learning music on the go. I started with drums and percussions first, like you mentioned. I was playing drums and percussions for so many different bands. Once I started playing, because I started playing South American music and African music and Egyptian music, I started picking up the Darbuka, and I started playing the Darbuka myself because I saw this musician who came from the Middle East who was playing this, and I was like, what was that? And then I started playing. I started a world music band. My first band was called Zara. Then me and Tanvisha, we both started the band together, and we were playing world music. We were playing like South American music, Brazilian stuff and all that. So that was my starting point, and then I started moving from one form of music to the other. I started listening to Tamil folk music. I was part of Chennai Sangamam back then in 2007. I had this wave of Tamil folk music, and I was like, wow, what is this forms of music and all that. Then I was working with lots of classical musicians, so I had this classical sort of wave. So it all happened at different timings, and I was into so many different styles of music. I was playing drums and percussion for so many different bands. I had my own bands doing so many different types of music and all that. But then around 2012-13, it came to a point where I was actually lost with why did I come into playing music and what am I doing now, sort of a situation.